January 14, 2026. Persian Gulf. The sea is naturally calm. Staff Sergeant Daniel Carter stands on the steel deck of the destroyer USS Mason, staring across the black water. The night air smells like salt, diesel, and tension. Somewhere beyond the darkness lies the Iranian coast. For weeks, intelligence briefings have warned the same thing. Something is coming. Carter tightens the strap of his ballistic vest. He's a Marine Corps reconnaissance sniper attached to a joint task force protecting the fleet. His rifle rests against the railing beside him, an M110 semi-automatic sniper system. Its matte finish dull under the dim red lights of the ship. Behind him, the deck hums with quiet preparation. Sailors move quickly but quietly. Radar operators whisper inside the Combat Information Center. Helicopters sit armed and ready on the flight deck. Nobody says it out loud, but everyone knows. If Iran attacks tonight, this won't stay local. It could ignite something much bigger. Carter checks his watch. 2:17 a.m. His friend, Corporal Luis Ramirez, steps beside him, holding two metal cups of burnt ship coffee. Couldn't sleep either, Ramirez mutters. Carter shakes his head. Too quiet. Ramirez looks out across the Gulf. You ever notice, he says quietly, the night before something bad happens, everything feels normal? Carter doesn't answer, because Ramirez is right. Above them, on-E-D Hawkeye surveillance aircraft circle silently in the sky, scanning hundreds of miles of ocean and coastline. Satellites watch from space. Drones patrol invisible paths over the water. And yet, the tension keeps growing. Suddenly Carter hears something. A faint alarm tone echoes across the deck. Then another. Inside the ship, lights shift from red to flashing amber. A voice explodes over the loudspeaker. Combat alert! Combat alert! Possible missile launch detected from Iranian territory. The calm ocean instantly becomes a battlefield. Sailors sprint across the deck. Missile defense systems rotate toward the sky. Inside the combat center, radar screens fill with new signals. Ramirez grips the railing. Tell me that's a false alarm. Carter stares upward. Then he sees it. Far away on the horizon, a thin streak of fire rising into the night sky. Then another, and another. Missiles, ballistic missiles, heading directly toward the U.S. fleet. The first shots of a war no one wanted have just been fired, and Carter realizes something terrifying. If even one of those missiles gets through, thousands of sailors will die before sunrise. The destroyer's sirens scream. As the first interception, missiles launch into the darkness. But the sky above the Persian Gulf is about to become a storm of fire. And this is only the beginning. The first interceptor launches with a violent roar. A flash of white fire erupts from the bow of the USS Mason as a SM-3 missile tears into the sky, its engine screaming through the darkness. The deck shakes beneath Carter's boots. Above the Persian Gulf, the night explodes into motion. Radar operators track the incoming Iranian ballistic missiles fast, high, and descending. Inside the Combat Information Center, voices overlap in tight, controlled panic. Multiple launches confirmed. Trajectory locked on fleet coordinates. Impact estimate, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. That's all the time between calm seas and mass destruction. Carter grabs his rifle and moves toward the starboard rail with Ramirez. They can't shoot missiles, but training demands everyone be ready. If anything survives the intercept's debris, drones, or incoming aircraft, the Marines will be the last line of defense. More interceptor missiles launch. 1, 2, 3. The sky becomes a lattice of burning trails. High above the clouds, the first collision happens. A bright flash blossoms silently in the upper atmosphere. For a moment, it looks like a second moon forming over the ocean. Splash 1. Someone shouts from inside the ship, but celebration doesn't last. More targets appear. Too many? Iran hasn't fired a warning shot. They launched a coordinated strike. Carter feels the hair on his neck rise as another radar alert screams. Missile separating. Possible MIRV deployment. Multiple warheads. Ramirez mutters under his breath. Jesus, they planned this. Another interceptor launches. Then another. The air smells like burning fuel and hot metal. Across the dark horizon, Carter suddenly notices something else. Lights. Dozens of them. Small. Fast. Moving across the water. He lifts a pair of binoculars. Fast attack boats. Iranian Revolutionary Guard vessels. Racing low across the waves. Their engines screaming toward the American fleet. They're using the missile attack as cover. A swarm attack. Ramirez sees them too. That's not good. Searchlights snap on across the destroyer. The ocean turns silver under the beams. Gun crews rush to their stations. The Phalanx CIWS turret begins to rotate, its radar searching for threats. Overhead, another missile detonates in the upper sky bright enough to cast shadows across the deck. But Carter's attention stays on the water. The Iranian boats are getting closer. Too close. Then one of the sailors, near the radar console, shouts something that makes the entire bridge go silent. New launch detected. Not ballistic. Different trajectory. Lower altitude. Fast. Very fast. The radar officer's voice tightens. Anti-ship missiles. Inbound. Carter stares at the horizon as a new set of fiery streaks bursts above the water. This time, they're flying straight toward the fleet, and there are too many to stop. The suicide boat cuts through the black water like a torpedo. Its engine screams at full throttle, throwing white spray behind it as it charges directly toward the USS Mason. No evasive maneuvers, no hesitation, just speed. Carter lifts his rifle, but even through his scope he knows the truth. At this distance, his weapon is useless. The boat is still several hundred meters away, and closing fast. Bridge, target confirmed. Carter shouts into the radio. Explosive boat heading straight for us. Inside the destroyer's combat center, the order comes instantly. Engage with deck guns. 2.50 caliber. Machine guns mounted along the starboard rail erupt in thunder. Massive tracer rounds rip across the water, slamming into the charging boat. Chunks of metal fly off the hull. But the boat doesn't slow. Whoever is driving it isn't trying to survive. Ramirez swears under his breath. Guy's committed. Carter feels the cold weight of reality settle in his chest. If that boat reaches the hull, the explosion could tear a massive hole in the destroyer's side. Hundreds of sailors sleep below deck. The machine guns keep firing. The boat is now 300 meters away. A rocket suddenly launches from another Iranian attack boat farther out. The rocket streaks past the destroyer and detonates in the water, sending a towering column of spray into the air. It's a distraction. The suicide boat keeps coming. The deck gunner adjusts his aim. Another burst of .50 caliber fire rips into the engine compartment. Sparks explode from the rear of the boat. For a moment, the engine sputters. The boat slows. Keep hitting it. Someone yells. Another storm of bullets tears through the hull. Then the engine explodes. A burst of flame shoots upward as the boat suddenly veers sideways, spinning violently across the waves. Carter exhales. But the relief lasts only seconds, because across the dark ocean, more boats appear. Dozens more. Their navigation lights flicker as they spread across the horizon like a swarm. Ramirez lowers his binoculars slowly. That's not a patrol. Carter nods grimly. No, because what they're seeing now isn't a raid. It's an invasion of the sea. At that exact moment, the radio crackles with a message from Fleet Command. A voice filled with urgency. All vessels be advised. Multiple Iranian missile batteries have launched across the coastline. Carter looks up at the sky again. Another wave of missiles is already rising over the distant mountains of Iran. But this time, the fleet's defenses are already burning through ammunition, and the next attack will be even bigger. The second missile wave rises over the Iranian coastline like a line of burning comets. From the deck of the USS Mason, Carter watches the horizon glow red as the launches pierce the night sky. The first wave had been bad. This one is worse. Inside the ship, the combat center sounds like controlled chaos. New launches confirmed. 20, no, 30 targets. Trajectory analysis, multiple fleet ships targeted. The commander's voice cuts through the noise. All ships prepare for saturation attack. A saturation strike. Too many missiles for defense systems to stop them all. Carter feels the deck vibrate as another interceptor missile blasts upward. The rocket flame lights the ship in a harsh white glow. Around them, the rest of the American fleet is now fully engaged. The aircraft carrier, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, looms in the distance like a floating city, its radar towers glowing faintly. Escort destroyers begin launching their own interceptor missiles. The sky becomes a violent storm of fire trails. Ramirez points upward. Jesus! Look at that! Dozens of missiles climb, collide, and explode in the upper atmosphere. Bright flashes bloom across the sky like silent lightning. One Iranian warhead breaks through. A destroyer several miles away fires its phalanx cannon. The cannon's stream of tracers cuts through the night. The incoming missile detonates barely 50 meters above the water. The explosion throws a massive shockwave across the sea. For a moment, Carter thinks they survived again. Then another radar alarm screams. 2 missiles penetrating defense grid. The voice inside the combat center is sharp with fear now. Impact estimated 40 seconds. Carter grips the railing as every defensive system on the Mason activates again. Phalanx cannons rotate. Missile launchers reload. Electronic warfare antennas blast interference signals across the spectrum. Across the ocean, one of the incoming missiles suddenly veers off course, confused by electronic jamming. But the second missile keeps coming. Fast, low, locked. The phalanx cannon opens fire again. Brrrrt. The missile is shredded only seconds before reaching the ship. Fragments rain into the sea. Ramirez exhales slowly, but Carter's eyes move to something far worse. Beyond the fleet, the sky suddenly fills with distant aircraft lights. Not American. A full squadron of Iranian fighter jets lifting off from the mainland. And their course is unmistakable. Straight toward the fleet. Carter feels a cold realization settle in his mind. Missiles were only the opening move. Now the real battle is coming. The sky over the Persian Gulf is no longer dark. Explosions, missile trails, and burning debris turn the night into a flickering battlefield. Carter wipes sweat from his eyes as the destroyer continues to shake under the constant thunder of launches. But now, a new sound rises above the chaos. Jet engines, fast, high. Inside the combat center, a radar operator calls it out immediately. Multiple aircraft lifting from Iranian mainland. Another voice answers, confirmed, fast movers, likely F-14 Tomcat and F for Phantom II. The names carry weight. Old aircraft, yes, but still deadly in the hands of experienced pilots. The destroyer's commander gives the next order without hesitation. Launch combat air patrol. Miles away, on the flight deck of the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, deck crews are already moving. Carter can barely see the carrier through the haze, but he knows what's happening. Catapults are preparing. Fighter jets are rolling into launch position. Within minutes, too, American fighters scream into the air. F-18 Super Hornet aircraft accelerating into the darkness. The air war has begun. Ramirez watches the tiny lights climb into the sky. Those guys better be good. Carter answers quietly. They are, but even the best pilots can be overwhelmed, because radar now shows something else. More aircraft lifting from Iranian air bases. Not 4, not 8, dozens. The scale of the attack is becoming clear. This is no accident. This is coordinated war. The first American fighters reach intercept altitude within minutes. Their radar locks onto the incoming Iranian formation, somewhere high above the clouds. Two opposing groups of pilots are now staring at each other through radar screens. Neither side can see the other yet, but they both know what comes next. Missiles. Carter hears a transmission crackle through the fleet network. Fox 3. An American pilot has fired first. Somewhere beyond the clouds, on AM-120 Umram, missile streaks toward an Iranian fighter jet at nearly 4 times the speed of sound. Seconds later, a flash lights up the distant sky. One of the Iranian aircraft disappears from radar, but the response comes instantly. 2 Iranian missiles launch back. Now the sky above the Persian Gulf is no longer just missiles from the ground. It's fighter jets hunting each other in the darkness. And Carter suddenly realizes something chilling. This battle is spreading faster than anyone predicted, because if more countries join this fight, the war could grow far beyond the Persian Gulf, and the world may already be too close to stopping it.